Greetings and salutations, my artsy friends. How is everyone today? So good, I hope. Good morning, Vicky. Good morning, Sue and Keely. So nice to see you here. I'm so excited about today. I'm so excited about Paul Cezanne. The French would say Paul Cezanne, but you know. So I hope that you have your art journal out. Good morning, Pam. I hope that you have your art journal out so that we can get started in there. If you are brand new here, if you would follow and like Anne Corbiere-Scott Designs on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, I would greatly appreciate that. And then if you would ask to join our private Facebook group, Let's Get Artsy with Anne Corbiere-Scott, that there are things that you can do in a private Facebook group that you can't do on a Facebook page. So Anne Corbiere-Scott Designs is a Facebook page. Let's Get Artsy with Anne Corbiere-Scott is a private Facebook group. And so in private Facebook groups, you can post files, you can all of you can post photos of your projects, that kind of thing. So I just need everybody to know that. I do want to talk a little bit about my upcoming classes. I have this Saturday, we are doing, my life is all about art, everything, all about art. This Saturday is Let's Get Artsy in our Bibles, and this is the entry that we're going to be doing. We're going to be working in the book of Job, and we are working on color value study and color theory, so that will be super fun. And look at this palette. I just love it. I just love those blue. It just screams winter, doesn't it? It just makes me so happy. And then on Sunday, we are going to be in Together We Letter. We're going to be playing with brush lettering and brush lettering with a Crayola Superfine marker. Yes, from the kids department. A Crayola Superfine is super great for brush lettering. And then we'll be doing some practical applications with our brush lettering. So that is that. So let's get started with Paul Cezanne. Paul Cezanne, we studied him December 12th, 2020. We studied him, but we're going to, one of the things Paul Cezanne, hey Sherry, did you get mail from me yet? I hope it's already there. One of the things to note about Paul Cezanne is that he painted things over and over and over again so that he saw his personal growth. He saw his he could work out his challenges, right? So let's talk about Paul Cezanne's as an artist. So he is a French post-impressionist artist. He's best known for still lifes. And remember, still lifes are things, portraits are people, and landscapes are places. So that's a good thing to just kind of keep in your noggin for the art world. He painted over 900 oil paintings and 400 watercolors in his lifetime. So do you see what I mean? Like he painted a lot of, there was a mountain in France that he painted that was near his home, and he painted it repeatedly from different angles at different times of day, all kinds of, he challenged himself in lots of ways. an interesting thing about Paul Cezanne is that today we would call him an introvert. In the past, they didn't have those kinds of words, but he was very definitely an introvert and became almost like a hermit. He was intensely interested in cylinders, spheres, cones, and cubes. Like he was just fascinated with gradations of color and how light hits an image, etc. He's famously known for saying, "With an apple, I will astonish Paris." So we are going to be painting another apple today. So my thought, I'm going to continue to read to you about Paul Cezanne and as I create in my art journal. So remember, we're going to be doing our artist study series and our art journaling entries all in the same art journal. If in 6 months we have filled this up, then we will make another one. But one thing I did want to talk about, I did say that you needed some book paper for today. One thing I did want to talk about, an observation I made. So when we did this layout, right? When we did this entry, this happened on the second sheet, right? If you used a Sharpie, which I bet most people did. Don't do anything with this because I have plans for this. Not exactly sure where I want to go, but I just feel like we could do so many cool things with this. I have another, where is it? Another right here. So the first entry that I did has a similar page back here. So I want to do something there too. So just know, don't like tear it out or paint over it. We'll do something with that. So anyway, let's find a clean sheet and we are going to be creating another apple. So I am going to cut my apple shape from my book paper. So think about an apple shape. An apple shape is oftentimes, I want to make it as big as possible. So an apple shape is oftentimes bigger at the top and smaller at the bottom, right? So let's kind of like a heart with a flat bottom. Does that make sense? But it doesn't have to be perfect because remember, this is just our first step, right? So then I'm going to cut that out. And to me, I don't care if my pencil line shows, because we've got so many other layers that are going to be happening here. I just want that beginning shape. So I think I want to trim a little bit here. Or maybe I want to make this just a little bit flatter down here. There. Love that. Okay. I am going to start to activate my paint while we talk a little bit more. Remember the other day I had talked about I have these Post-its of Van Gogh. I have Starry Nights and Sunflowers, and if you want me to send you one of them, just DM me your address. So I have those, and then I was talking about these page markers that I totally forgot to show you. So here are the famous girls. We have Greta, Mulan, Malala, and Anne Frank. And then the famous, I think they're called like Strong Girls and Strong Women. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Harriet Tubman, Joan of Arc, and Frida Kahlo. So if you would like any of those, just send me a DM with your address and I will send them in the mail to you. And I'm going to somehow make art with those. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure just yet. I have them in the front cover of one of my art journals. I have all of the girls lined up across the bottom. I can show you. Because I like to sticker bomb my the inside covers of my art journals. Well, I don't know where that art journal is. Anyway, I just like to sticker bomb the inside covers of my art journals. And so that's what I was kind of thinking. So that's my thought on that. I just wanted to make sure I said that before. You know, we get going in 75 different directions. So I'm going to take my... Hey, Dawn. Hey, Aunt Mer. I'm going to take my book print apple and I'm just going to stick it down to my page with my glue stick. Making sure I get my edges. Okay. And I'm just going to stick it down. So eventually this will turn into a still life, right? Because we need it to not be floating, right? We need it to be resting on something. So I don't know if I'm going to do a plate or a table or I don't know what. But anyway, just know that that will be in the works. I'm taking my adhesive eraser and getting rid of my excess glue stick that is on my page. Hey, Linda Cook. Okay, so now I'm going to start to do a watery wash of color, but I want to talk to you more about Cezanne. So, hey, Vicky, I'm so glad you're here. Okay. So I'm using a flat brush this morning because Cezanne was really, he really liked his brush strokes to show. And so I just think a flat brush is, I like the brush strokes of a flat brush. That's all. That's why. I will say that, but I want to do just a watery wash right now. So I want to talk to you about Cezanne's love affair with gradation of color. So he was very into value, right? Remember we talked about value if you took my Wordsmith art class or if you take my Let's Get Artsy with Our Bibles class on Saturday. The main focus in that class is value. So in this sense, value is we are going to be painting this in values, range from light to dark. So your apple kind of looks like this. So the highlight is going to be right here, right about here, right? So we know that's the lightest spot. And then we've got, can you still see that? Sorry. And then the next circle of color is light, right? And then the next circle of color is midtones. And then the next circle of color is shadow. But down here at the base on the left side, because I'm saying my light source is here. If you say your light source is from here, then it will be absolutely opposite of this. But if your light source is here, this is how you would paint your apple, right? So down here is reflected light from your base, whatever your base is, right? So down here, that light will bounce off and it'll hit the bottom of this apple, right? But down here, we're going to also have a cast shadow. So that's how we're going to kind of paint our apples. So does that make sense to everybody? Have I lost everybody? Am I too far in the weeds? So I'm going to do the same thing with yellow. Make a watery wash of that. And my orange, because this orange is kind of it's quite a warm orange. It's not a bright orange. There we go. So I'm going to think about where my highlight is, right? So my highlight is right about here. So I'm going to do a little bit of a yellow highlight, right? And now I'm going to take a little bit of that orange and a little bit of that. Remember, when we're mixing a color, we want it to be, you're going to add just a little bit of the dark color to a lot of the light color, right? So now I'm going to add that orange. And we can adjust these colors as we go along, but let's get our base down first, right? And now we want to do our midtones. So now let's take that orange and add a little bit of that red to a lot of that orange, right? And remember, I said we can adjust colors as we go along. We just kind of want to get started. Okay. Now we're going to go in with our shadow. So we want our shadow we just want to leave space for our reflected light right here, right? And now I'm really starting to have my brush strokes show. I love that. Hey Noreen, how are you today? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so remember, this is going to be our reflected light. So let's do that with a little bit of our yellow, and then we can adjust that as we go along. There we go. So can you start to see the, are you starting to see the apple kind of come together? Are you starting to see the shape come alive? And are you painting along with me? I'm curious about that too. I am. I also make sure that you sign up for the Heart Party, which will be February 3rd and 4th. I'm going to be teaching on the 4th, I think at 1 o'clock Central Time. But just know that it's going to be an amazing 2 days of free creative content, free teaching from 14 different artists. So you will have yourself a time and learn. So while we're looking at this, let me tell you a little bit more about Cezanne. So Cezanne was, his art was greatly misunderstood during most of his lifetime, but later recognized as one of the greatest post-impressionists, known for his emotional involvement in his paintings. Degas, Picasso, Renoir, and Matisse acknowledged him as a genius. And he was at the beginnings of modern art. Modern artists experimented with new ways of seeing and with fresh ideas about nature of materials and functions of art. So that's a little something to know. Shut up. I totally saw your thistles. It was gorgeous, Sherry. Oh, thank you so much. I wanted to hang out with all of you too. Everybody take a drink. Okay, let's see. What else can I tell you about Mr. Cezanne? So he was an expert in using gradations of color. He wanted layers and layers and layers of color. And do you see how you can... So I totally want to incorporate, with an apple, I will astonish Paris. I want to include that somewhere in my art journal entry, and his name, Paul Cezanne. And I want to sign it. Let's make sure that we try to do that this year. I was kind of laxed with doing that, so then I had to go back and try and guesstimate when I did what things. Let's make sure that we sign and date all of our entries. It's important because we might be flipping around different pages in our art journal, so you're going to want to know when you did certain things. Cezanne's trick to creating a realistic vibe, and that's what we're doing, is highlights, shadows, and cast shadows. Oh, sorry about the telephone. Let's see. He liked to paint outside like the Impressionists, and he was often referred to as the bridge between the Impressionists, because he was certainly a post-Impressionist, and Cubism, which came after, because he kind of incorporated a little bit of both of those things, and then a whole bunch of in between. Composition was paramount to Cezanne. He liked short, flat brushstrokes, so remember that. And he studied his subjects extensively. And devoted a lot of time toward that purpose. So I didn't bring an apple down here, but I should have asked you to bring an apple and really look at that apple and look at how the light hits it, and look for the cast shadow, look for the highlight, look for the the low lights. You'll see them. You'll see them as you go along. He was very good friends and a schoolmate of Emile Zola, the writer, but he, something happened later on in his life and their friendship went away. He's known as the most significant pioneer of 20th century abstract painting. His spatial explorations paved the way for Cubism and Fauvism. Matisse declared Cezanne the father of all of us, and Picasso was said to say that he was his only master. Cezanne had provided the creative foundation for so much of the art that followed in the 20th century. And that's kind of fascinating, isn't it? That he, you know, he was, because he was so relatively unknown during his lifetime, which is so sad. But that his work has proven itself to be so tremendous. Let's see, some of his famous paintings. I did not bring my little iPad down here because I thought you guys could probably look those up yourself. The card players, that you'll notice that his figures are, what do I want to say? They are like, I wrote it down. The bathers, that's the one. Most of his bathers, most of the people that he paints are like a semi-abstract human form. When you look at them, you'll start to see elements of abstract painting there and some more realistic. He's kind of a combined those two things. The card players is one. Still Life with Apples, you'll see that he has a whole series of apple paintings. The Basket of Apples, I think that's the one I posted yesterday. Boy in a Red Waistcoat, The Hangman's House, and The Bathers. Those are all famous Cezanne paintings. And I'll leave you with this quote. Where are we on time? Let me see. Where are we on time? An art which isn't based on feeling isn't an art at all. That was so cool, isn't it? So I'm going to continue to work on my apple. I'm going to use paint. I'm going to use colored pencils. I'm going to use my art crayons. I have a whole bunch of different art crayons in here. You know, you just use whatever you have to, I'm going to dry mine, to build those gradations of color. My apple looks very orange, but in the end, it will look like a red apple, promise. I just want my paint layer to be dry. So I'm just going to take my pencil and fiddle about with some ideas on, so I want my stem to be kind of here, right? So you know where there's that little divot where the stem is, right? So I'm going to have that. And I want it to kind of come off my book page. I just want to do that. You can do yours lower if you choose. Because I don't know. I'm just kind of feeling that vibe today. So you know that it will be dark down here, right? And it's okay to have your pencil become part of your composition too. So I'm going to take, I have my woodies and some Neo 2s. I have some gray Neo 2s that I'm going to use for my, I think I'm going to use that from the beginnings of my cast shadow. So let's I'm going to dip my woody and just start to build layers of color. I'm dipping it in water so I get a nice I gotta get a nice big wet application of color. There we go. My Jeffrey made it safe and sound home from Boston yesterday. I'm gonna kind of mix up some colors here. And I'm gonna kind of come back in with my flat brush, wet and then tap off. And then I just wanna kind of move that color out into kind of gradually build that. There we go. I'm loving that. I'm getting a really nice gradation of color there. Right? I'm just pulling little by little, pull that color out. And I'm just painting along that that curve, right? I just really want to work on building that shape and the roundness, the form of the apple with my brush strokes by just painting in that same direction. Does that make sense to everybody? So now let's lighten this just a little bit. So let's take some of this woody, but you know, you do whatever you've got. And I'm just going to lighten my value. Remember, we learned dip and tap off that excess water, and then we're gonna just build that little by little. Let's go even a little bit lighter. I just like doing it on top of text. I just think it adds a little. So we're putting a modern spin on one of the masters, one of his style of apples, but we're not trying to paint his exact apple, right? We want to do our version of an apple. Now, let's see, let's do, I really want to lighten, so I'm going to dip, come back in here, even lighter, lighten, let's get a little bit more. Slowly work on building that form. And now I'm adding a little bit of that red in a washy way. to my reflected light down here, because I still want it to be a little bit, I want it to be kind of pink. And this, oops. I just love that it just slowly comes to life, you know? I'm gonna let that dry. Then I'm gonna kind of think about my composition, where I want to put my quote, where I want to put his name, what I want this resting on. I'm feeling like I might just do like a flat surface. So I'm going to take my pencil, and I want my flat surface to kind of start up here, right? I don't know what I'm going to do with that just yet, but I know that I want it to be right about there. And then I'm going to do my cast shadow kind of here, right? And so we know our cast shadow is going to be darkest where it's next to the image, right? So I'm going to use, I have this, I think this is, oh, that's silver. I know I have some gray tones, but you know, you could do this with anything. You could do this with watercolor pencils. You could do this with more paint. You could do it with whatever, light gray, whatever mediums you have at your ready. Okay, so I think this is the darkest gray that I have, I believe. So I'm gonna wet that, tap off, and then I'm just gonna start here. And yes, I'm painting this in my composition book, right on composition paper. It doesn't matter, right? This isn't a masterpiece, it's just for fun. So let's get some of that moving, and let's come in with that next gray here. And I think I want this gray to kind of move here. And that lightest gray, is this the gray or the silver? Light gray. Then I want that light gray over here. And it's kind of cool that the, I like that as the graph paper gets wet, it starts to melt a little bit. Kind of dig that. The one thing I will say about painting on something so light as composition book pages is you kind of have to make sure you dry in between, because it can't hold as much water, right? It'll start to tear, and we don't want that to happen. So let's dry that. But I'm feeling like, and I need to adjust my shape a little bit on my cast shadow, but that's okay, right? Everybody take a drink. I'm feeling like I want my cast shadow to come over here a little bit. I just want to smudge that a little bit, because we don't want it to have a hard edge. It's feeling like it has a hard edge over here. I really want that to be softened a bit. So I'm going to paint on there, or draw on there a little bit, and then just move that edge a little bit with our brush. That's feeling way better to me. Okay, let's see. So now I need to think about my base. What do I want that to be? I guess it's like a table or a countertop, but I don't know exactly where I want to go with color-wise, or I don't know. I just haven't figured that part out yet. But I do want to fiddle around a little bit with my highlight. So I was thinking I could take, I'm almost positive, yes I do have a white art crayon. And art crayons can be anything that is kind of in crayon form, so it can be gelatos, it can be distress crayons from Tim Holtz, it can be Neo colors, it can be Staedtler watercolor crayons, anything. Vicky Boutin has some watercolor crayons. It's just pigment that you move or you don't move. That's the thing. You can move it or not move it. You can leave the texture of the crayon, or you can soften it with water. It's up to you. But I want to, I'm going to dip my crayon in water because I want to lighten this just a little bit. And that's mixing with my white, my yellow, but it's kind of getting where I want it to be. So I just need to soften that with my brush, right? I just want it to soften my edges of it. But I want my highlight to be really, really bright, right? I want this to be a little more red, so I think I'm going to come in with my Neo, wet my Neo, just get a little bit more red going over here. So it's not as orange, kind of digging that. And remember, we can do our Jiggy Jaggy blend with our brush to break up the edge of that color so we don't have a line. If you want a line, you go right ahead. Let's get a little bit more of this. A little bit more water in this. I'm just pulling just a little teeny tiny bit of this red watercolor that I have here on my palette, and I'm just adding some water to it so I get like a nice kind of a pinky color. I just want to add that to my reflected light. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. I do have, I think that there is a, there was like an ochre color that I was thinking might be like the perfect thing for my stem. Like I just want to, raw umber, that might be the one that I'm kind of thinking about. I just wanted that green to be the green of the stem. You know how the apple stem is kind of greeny brown? I'm kind of digging that too. I sent one of those big caramel apples to a friend. Isn't that cool? They're just amazing. That would be a fun painting, wouldn't it? That would be a super fun painting. So I want my stem to be, so I'm going to use, this is gold, but let's start with light olive. I just want to get a little color on there, right? I just want to start, get some color. And then, you know, I can certainly fiddle around with things later. And while I'm waiting, while I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm going to think about how I'm going to do my lettering on this art journal entry. I don't know yet. I haven't figured that part out yet. Okay, let's see. I know that I want to, let's pencil it in. What did he say? With an apple, I will astonish Paris. So I'm thinking I want to do, I need to write that down on a hunk of paper. With an apple, I will astonish Paris. Paul Cezanne. Okay. But what was this other quote? I kind of dig that one too. An art which isn't based on feeling, isn't an art at all. I kind of dig both of those. So how about you? Are you adding a quote to yours? 12 minutes. How did it go so fast, Keely? Well, I guess we're going to have to show each other our finished stuff in the group, aren't we? I'm feeling like with an apple, I will astonish Paris. I really want that to be paramount. And I'm kind of feeling like down here, like maybe I want my tablecloth to be, I don't know, maybe I'll bring this same green in down here and then paint a pattern or something, I don't know. going to do some of that blocky bubble painting or lettering that we used in Art Alchemy. And just know that any of my classes that have passed, you can absolutely take them still. The only thing that's different is you'll still have all the same content. You'll still have all the same printables. You'll still have everything's the same, except you won't be watching the video live. So just know that any of the classes that are on my website, you can take again, or you can take after the original play date. You can take it anytime. So if you want to learn about this lettering, I just really liked playing with something so organic and imprecise. That just kind of made me happy. Because, you know, all of my other hand lettering, it's not precise, but there's more what's the word I want to use? Hey, Kat. We're studying Paul Cezanne today with an apple. Let's make apple all caps. That's kind of a cool idea, I think. Just thought of something. With an apple, I will astonish Paris over here. So then I've got a real, oh, thank you, Catherine. That is so nice. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm feeling like I want, because I did this in pencil, I can fiddle around with it a little bit. I really feel like maybe apple, I want to extend my letters down so it kind of wraps around the apple, kind of thinking that. And then I will astonish Paris, and I want Paris to be kind of a big word down here too. And there's a lot of freedom with this kind of really organic hand lettering. Not that there isn't with the others, but you know what I mean. Okay, let's do... Darn it. How am I going to make those meet? There we go. There we go. Shut up. That worked out well. Astonish. A. S. I tell you, S's in this font are a little bit difficult, I find. T. N I S H. I will astonish Paris. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm just loving it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so now I remember I said I really want apple to be paramount up here. And so, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Catherine. Okay, this is the beauty of a pencil and a white eraser, right? So let's do, I'm gonna do and I want this one to be, oh, I'm taking that. Like it's kind of climbing up the side of the apple. So we're putting our own spin on Paul Cezanne's apples. I want my E kind of up. So I'll draw my little window of my E first. Then I'll go around. And then, it kind of does look like the Eiffel Tower. Shut it! Cute as that. All right, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm gonna make a little bit of a window here, and I'm gonna write Paul Cezanne right here. I don't know exactly how. I need to take a drink and ponder for a second. Let's do, Paul is 4 letters, so we could do P, A, U, L. I don't know how we're going to do that. C, Cezanne, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 letters, so we know we want. We could make that a little bit longer. So we could do our E here, right? N, N, A, Z, E. I don't know exactly what I want to do with that, but shut it. I'm liking that, and I can make this, like this could be some kind of a little border around here, something fun. I'm not sure where I want to go with that just yet, but I want to get my idea down. So I'm kind of working it all out. Oh, I hate that it's 1 minute. How's everyone doing? How are you doing on your pulse, your paying homage to Paul Cezanne? one of the best. He's just amazing. You know what? Somebody who is writing to Melody was writing to me the other day about the Post-its, and she said, "Starry Starry Night is my favorite painting," and I go, "Me too." Well, I kind of have a lot of favorites, and that is the truth. Like I just see beauty everywhere. You know. I think I want it to be all one guy and then or one girl. It's not at all. So I'm going to start to go over my letters with my oh, I need to add that to my Amazon, my plastic nib micron. It's just the best. And remember your pencil lines are just a guide. You don't have to go over them perfectly. Don't feel trapped by that. Absolutely, Vicky. Here's the thing. Nothing in your art journal, I don't want anyone to ever feel like their art journal has to be a work of art. It absolutely doesn't. An art journal is where we work things out, where we play with color. So maybe what you learned from this lesson is the basis of color gradation and the basis of value, color value, because you took art alchemy, so you have one lesson in that already, right? And now you have another lesson in value. And I'm telling you, you can't learn these things too many times. You absolutely can't. I still go over and over and over notes that I took in art school because you think you'll remember everything and you won't. You just want to be reminded. But just, and remember, there's like 200 pages in this little art journal, right? So you have pages and pages and pages to practice. But don't feel like, because remember, Cezanne painted 400 watercolors. So don't feel like it has to be perfect. It absolutely doesn't. I'm going to be incorporating a lot of the art skills that we learned in art alchemy in this, because I want to hone that skill, right? I want to hone the skill of this hand lettering style. I want to hone the skill of, maybe I'm going to do some mark making in my background, right? It is still very much a Paul Cezanne painting, right? But he's already done that. It would be insulting for me to try and replicate what he did, to replicate his exact painting. But I can learn from him, right? I can learn so much from him. And I can build my art knowledge by learning from him. And then that becomes part of me and my artsy arsenal in my noggin, right? Just like it will become part of you in your noggin. So I just want everybody to remember that. Please, please, please don't ever feel like it has to be perfect, especially in an art journal. An art journal is all about exploration and practice and just the journey, right? But make sure that we sign a date. I'm feeling like that needs to be important this year. Let's make sure that we remind each other to sign a date and to drink our water. So I am, if it's all right with you, I'm going to go a little late today. I'm feeling like I want to, I don't want to stop my journey here. You let me know if you have to go. I completely understand. I know I'm feeling like by letting go of what we think it should look like, it opens up. There's a whole new world of artistic freedom, right? Hey, Karen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, you guys, I'm loving it. Remember, if you are new here, please follow and like Ann Corbiere-Scott Designs on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And then ask to join Let's Get Artsy with Ann Corbiere-Scott private Facebook group on Facebook, if that wasn't obvious. Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh. I'm loving it, you guys. It's starting to, don't you love that magic moment when it all starts coming, when it all starts to come together, right? I will. And I think, you know what's crazy? I think he did astonish Paris. It just took a while. He needed to learn patience, which is sad that he didn't get it in his lifetime. You know, he was such an introvert that he became kind of a almost a hermit. It just because he became depressed, he had diabetes, and you know, he was born in 1839 and died in 1906. So imagine the medical care, I'm sure, was limited. And I think his failing health made him depressed, and I think he was just one of those people who was kind of what's the word I want to use? Was kind of inclined to that challenge. He did marry, and he had a son, I believe. And he came from a very well-to-do family, but his father did not appreciate his father was a banker, and his father did not appreciate his wanting to be an artist. But in the end, and so he would cut him off financially, and Paul would he would go back and work at his father's bank for a while, but he was just miserable. But in the end, he did inherit all of that money from his father, which is kind of interesting. Almost there. Can you imagine, Keels? It had to have been, but doesn't that just go to paint and paint and paint and to not be famous, to not have a payoff, right, until after? And I think so many of those painters, that's kind of how it was. But the passion must have been so grand inside of you that despite all of that, you still had to paint. Van Gogh certainly didn't see success. So many of them didn't see success monetarily, but I just have to think that they're hanging out in artist heaven, looking down and being so happy at how their work has influenced so many and has made so many so happy, you know? I think that that's got to be a level of satisfaction, you know? Oh, Catherine, that is so nice. Keep teaching skills from your art school classes. You're a gem to the art world. Thanks for sharing your art freedom through famous art from years ago. Oh, gosh. Thank you, Catherine. I will carry that with me. That is for sure. I will carry that one with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know I've gone way over today, and I still have so much that I still want to do. I haven't figured out exactly how I want to do his name, but I will. And then I will share it in the group. I adore you all to the depths of my soul. Thank you so, so much for hanging with me, and I hope you painted an apple or are going to paint an apple. And then be sure to post it in the Let's Get Artsy with Anne Corbiere-Scott private Facebook group. Happy Thursday to you too, Sue. Have a tremendous Thursday. I adore you all. Thank you. Bye.